Hey guys, welcome back to my sewing room. I'm Kelly and you found me here on Pick and Stitches, and today we're going to do a tutorial on the 2025 Sew Sampler Cupid box. Can't wait to show you everything I did on this one. All right, I have to admit, this was a quilt that was fun. It came together really fast. I was honestly very concerned about the blocks. When I first saw the pattern, I was like, oh man, this one's going to be a lot. And it was a lot to cut out. And I did kind of get in a hurry when I was cutting out a lot of these quilts, kind of working late at night. So I am going to say, for your sanity, go slow, cut the things that you need to as you need them. And just be careful and make sure that you have the right fabrics in the right orientation. There are a couple of directional prints. And so if that's something that bugs you, I would definitely make note of that as you're starting your cutting instructions. And then also, I did not label my piles as I made, all of my presents in a stack and all of my flowers in a stack and all of my chocolates in a stack. My stacks got mixed up. I don't know if I did it or if one of the kids did it, but then I came in the next morning to cut and I cut things in the wrong order. So some of my colors are not going to be exactly like the Fat Quarter Shop's pattern is listed. So if you want yours exactly like theirs, please don't look at my exact color placement because it is not the same. It's slightly different, but I still think it turned out super cute. So I've got all of my pieces cut, and keep in mind that there are quite a few different pieces here. When I was cutting, I accidentally cut the wrong stack for my present gifts, and those are going to be a different color fabric. So if you want your quilt to look exactly like this cover, do be careful. Don't cut exactly the colors I have here because mine are going to be slightly different. I think that this bundle is going to work out beautifully regardless, but I just wanted to point that out, that some of my presents are going to be different fabrics than what you're going to see here. And so that means that other ones are going to be altered as well. So first we'll just start off. I'm going to get some of these extras out of the way. These are all of those 36 and with the fabric. I haven't cut anything down yet. So this is my borders and then my X, Y's, and Z's. And I'm going to get my W's off of my table as well, so we have a little bit more room. So the first thing we're going to do is grab that friction erasable pen, and we're going to do piece B. We've got 3 piece B's, and we're going to grab 3 piece S's. If you've got the seam guide tape, then you probably don't have to do this step, but if you are a beginner, this will help you out. We're going to draw a line 1/4 of an inch from center on both sides. So if you have one of these quilter's rules, it makes it really easy. Those are the 2 lines we're going to sew, and then we're going to cut between them. If you don't have a quilter's ruler, what you can do is line up, make yourself a 1/4 inch or a half line that's going to go exactly from one point to the other, and then move over 1/4 of an inch and draw a second line. So you're not going to sew that middle line, you're just going to sew the outer line. So this ruler is a little bit faster, but it's not something that you absolutely have to have. We're going to do that for all 3 of our pieces. And then we're going to sew, oops, I didn't anchor that very well, did I? Then we're going to go sew all 3 of those over on the machine. Now, while we're working on these corner pieces, I'm also going to grab piece A and piece T. So we're going to need 6 pieces of T. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go corner to corner on our piece T's. And we're actually not going to be cutting these off and using both sides. We're only going to use one side. So you just need to draw that center line for all of your piece T's. Now, if you have that seam tape on your machine, you actually don't have to draw these. You can just use your seam tape, but it is easier for me, and I think a lot of beginners, to sew on a line rather than just kind of imagine where it is. Okay, so now we're going to head over to the machine, and we are just going to put these right sides together and stitch down both sides of our lines. And I just have my stitch length at about a 2.5. I'm using the 60 glide thread that I like so much, nothing fancy. And this friction pin is not the best marking, but when I iron it, it will go right away. And if you prefer to pin, please pin. Okay, so we'll put that on our cutting station and we'll get our bigger pieces. These are our piece A's. And again, we're going to go on opposite corners. So we're going to do one on the top of each side or the bottom of each side. What you don't want to do is skinny side and skinny side. Okay, so we'll just get that into place. If you prefer to pin, please pin. And you get lined up. And off we go. So this is where, if you didn't draw the line, you would line up the corner with your needle here and this corner with your red line on your seam tape. Or whatever color your seam tape might be. So we're going to make sure we're doing the other corner. And we'll do that for all three. And usually if you're going to do more of these, you would kind of chain piece those together. Since there's only 3, it's not so bad. We're just going to cut off our corners. Since these are already sewn, they don't have to be so perfect. So I'll just get them all lined up. I want to make sure I leave 1/4 of an inch. And we'll do the other side. Okay, so those are ready to be pressed. And now we'll cut these apart. And we'll go right down the middle. Again, since these are already sewn, they're a little bit more forgiving than our regular cuts are going to be. Move this up here so we can all see. So we're going to press towards our color. So I like to put that on top. This makes it easier to press out. Okay, and on these we are going to press towards, we're actually going to press these open. So I'll press towards the white first, and then we'll flip it over and press them open. And after my last video, a lot of you replied that you love this bar, so I'm going to continue to try to use it. I don't know. Whoops. And it's probably just like anything else. The more you use it, the more dexterous you get. I have actually tried to switch hands that I iron with because of the situation I have in my sewing room for filming. And it is remarkable how much better I am at opening a seam while holding the iron with my left hand. And I would think that my right hand would actually be better at it, but it just hasn't had as much practice. It makes me really feel sorry for all the people when they get injured and you can't use one of your hands. You have to switch it up. Even simple tasks like, you know, opening a pitcher of water so that you can refill it or going to the restroom. All almost impossible. All right, so except for that one little corner that I messed up, I think that was a lot better. They're pretty open for sure. Okay, so next we'll take our little trimmers. We'll trim up all these dog ears. Oops, I only trimmed one. That would be annoying. Okay, so now we're going to make our leaves and our stems. So we're going to take piece D, which is this little rectangle right here, and piece V. We're going to grab several of those, and we're going to do all 4 corners to make our leaves.
Again, on this one you can draw corner to corner. I'm just going to use my seam-aligned tape up on this one. So let's head over to the machine. I'm just going to use this red line all the way to the center. So I'm going to use that as my guide. I'm going to set this first corner under the needle and then sew it right along that red line. We'll do opposite corners and then press and cut and come back and do the other side. Okay, so now we'll do the opposite corner. Okay, so we'll trim these up. Same thing, these are already sewn, so they're a little bit more forgiving. We're just going to line them all up and cut them with the rotary cutter. I would not, however, like to cut my other pile. And again, you could always trim these up with scissors if you prefer. Okay. Get my pressing board back over here. And we're going to press all of these open. Okay, so now we will head back over to the machine and sew the other corners. Okay, so same thing we did on our other side. We're just going to go corner to corner on opposite sides. And you can absolutely trim these up with scissors if you prefer. I think it's maybe slightly faster to trim them all with the rotary cutter, but really it's not that different. Okay, we'll go press these open just like we did the other two sides. Okay, so we'll let those set for just a minute. Now we're going to take our piece C's and we're going to get several of our T's and we're going to place these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this one is a little bit of a medium size. You can absolutely draw the lines on the back if you need to and stitch them on, or if you want to use your seam-aligned tape, you can do that. So I'm going to use the seam-align again. Okay, now we're going to stitch our other side on. So we do want to make sure that we're making a triangle. So we're going to sew from the middle to the outside. And that way when we flip it up, we'll have that triangle in the middle. So these are all pressed towards the white, and we have 3 triangles that match the main body of our flowers. Now I'm going to do it on this blue block so it stands out a little bit better. And somebody was asking about this the other day, thinking maybe this was like a carpet block or something. It's just a regular foam board that I use for my design boards, and this is just a leftover backing fabric that I had. I just wanted something that would show up darker, so when I used it on film for you guys, it would show up with my white fabrics. So as we get ready to start to assemble our block, we're going to attach, whoop, that's the wrong one. There we go. Oh, we're going to make our triangles kind of come towards the middle so we get that tulip shape, and we'll sew those 3 pieces together. Okay, so I trimmed these half square triangles down, and now those seams will nest, and we'll stitch that together. Swing around and do the other side. And again, you want to make sure your shape is right. Nope, that's not it. There we go. I thought that felt wrong. And when you fold it in, it should nest. Okay, so we'll do that for all 3 of them and then head back to the pressing station. Okay, now we're going to start building out our flower. We've got our stem, our 2 leaves, our flower top. We're going to need 2 pieces of U to go on the right and the left side, and 2 pieces of P to go under our leaves. So the first thing that we're going to do is sew the top to the bottom of our tulip. So we'll attach that. Okay, and then we'll just give this a quick press. We're going to press towards our flower, big flower part. And now we'll add our 2 outside pieces of O to the flower. Okay, so we'll add O to the outer portion. Go ahead and do both sides since we're over here. And we'll also go ahead and attach our leaves to piece P. You can do both of these at the same time. Go press all 3 of these pieces. So on our U pieces, we're just going to press those towards the outside. Set our seam, press it out. And then for our leaf, whoops, just close my seam. We're going to press towards the big white section. I'll let the flower sit under a clapper for a minute. And we're going to go sew our stem in the middle here. Okay. So we'll grab our stem. These are symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. Either one will work. And on this, we're going to be pressing towards the stem. So I'm just going to give that a quick finger press and grab my other side. Okay, another quick little finger press to make it easier when I get over to the ironing board. We'll set this aside and press our stem. Okay, now we have our last seam. We're just going to sew our flower onto the top of our leaves and stem. Okay, and there we have it. Our flower is ready. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that for our other 2 flowers, and we'll be all set on the flowers. Okay, so next we're going to be making our gift block. So I've already made one. We've got 2 more to make. We're going to take our piece E's and our piece V. Now you can absolutely draw all your lines if you want to. I'm going to just use my seam guide tape, and we're going to take piece V and we're going to head back over to the machine and we'll get this sewn on. So we're going to do the top 2 corners, but we have to do them kind of one at a time. So let's head over to the machine. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and chain piece these together. Again, I'm just using this red line on my seam guide tape. So I'm lining up right with my needle and right here where the point lines up with the red line. Okay, so we'll take these over and we'll cut them apart. We're going to press one side all the same towards the middle or to the outside, and the other side is going to go the opposite direction. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. So I'll press this first one to the outside. So we'll set these seams. Okay, so now we're going to sew on this other diagonal. Okay, we'll snip those apart, cut off our extra. And then this one I'm going to press kind of reverse. I'm going to press it towards the color. And again, you could do that with a rotary cutter, up to you. So since I'm going to press these towards the color, I'm just going to flip them over. And the only reason that this really matters is so they will nest. If you want to press open, that's totally fine. Okay, so now we'll head back to the machine and we're just going to stitch these 2 together. So since we pressed opposite, they should nest. We're just going to sink those 2 together and stitch down that center line. I am not going to switch to my 1/4 inch foot for this one because we're about to have to switch right back. And then when we head over to the pressing station, we're actually going to press this seam open. Okay. So now we'll press this seam open. You know, guys, I think I figured out what I was doing wrong on this rolly bar is always presses to one side and then the other. And I did that before I put it up on this pressing bar. And I think if you haven't pressed it yet, it is easier to pull them apart. So personal preference for sure. I still feel like I want to set that flat and give it a press, but maybe it's easier to open. So we'll just figure it out. Okay, so now I've got that. Where's my clapper? We'll let that set up for just a second, and we'll make the main body of our present. So we're going to take our piece H and F and decide what color combination you like better. Probably doesn't matter too much. And we're just going to sew these 3 together. 3 together. So let's head over to the machine. Okay guys, I lied. I was thinking of the last block, which is the heart block where it's a back and forth game. I'm going to go ahead and switch to my 1/4 inch foot. And now we'll take our present over here and we'll stitch these together. So on the present, we're going to be pressing away from our little ribbon here. So I'm just going to give that a quick finger press and do the other side. And we'll do that for both. And then I'll do that for this side and pass it to the pressing station and we'll do our other piece. I don't know why whenever I have something with a pinked edge, I always like to stitch that in sooner rather than later so that it's not hanging out too long. Okay, press away from our ribbon and we'll do the other side. Okay, so now we'll go ahead, press that away from our ribbon with our finger, and we'll get that on the pressing mat. And I will press that and let that sit up under the clappers. Okay, so now we've got the center part of our bows. We need to have piece S. We're going to need 4 of those. We're going to do one side and then the other. So pick right or left, whatever works for you. And we'll head back to the machine. You guys, I knew it. This is one of those back and forth. I just got confused. I sewed out 1 block of each so that I would know, you know, if there was any hiccups in the road to come. Okay. So we're going to sew that from corner to corner. Okay, and then we'll give these a quick trim. These are actually big enough you could save them, but there's only 3 of these blocks, so that would be 6 of these little half square triangles. I just decided not to this time. Okay, so we'll move these out of the way, and now we're going to press towards the white. And we're going to grab our other pieces of S. So we'll do our opposite corner. And we'll go press these to the outside. So now we need our rectangles of piece R. We're going to attach one to each side of both of our hearts or ribbons. Ribbons. I'm just in the mood. They kind of look like hearts. They're like very square hearts, but they're bows. Now here you're going to want to make sure that you leave that point. Okay. We'll go press these. They're going to get pressed towards the white. Okay, now we'll build out our blocks. So you're going to take your corresponding bow with the corresponding ribbon, and we're going to attach those two together, and then we'll attach these two together. And these are pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of joins to worry about. You do want to make sure that your bow is in the middle of your ribbon and that you're not cutting off that point. As you get close, you just want to look at where those two stitch lines come together. And we'll take a peek. Yep, looks good. And we'll look at our bow. We look good. Okay, let's go press them. Okay, so on this one, we're going to press towards our package because there are fewer seams that way. So you'll put your bow down. Give it a good steam, and it's ready for the design wall. And there we go, guys. 2 of our 3 blocks. 2 of our 3 types of blocks. We still have one more type of block, and it is the chocolate with the bow. Now we're on to the last block. This is the 3rd block in this series, and I have to be 100% honest. When I saw this one in the pattern, it made me groan a little bit. I thought it was going to be kind of tedious and a ton of pieces, but honestly, it is really not that bad. It comes together super quick, and I can't wait to show you how easy it is. So first we're going to take our piece J's and our piece T, I think. Yes, J's and T's. So we're going to take those over to the machine. We're going to sew opposite corners on the top of both sets, and then we can cut and press them all at the same time. Yeah, once you get through the cutting on these guys, it's really not bad at all. Okay, so again, you could make your lines if you want to. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use that seam tape, and we'll go corner to corner. And if you prefer to pin, please pin it in place. Okay, and we'll pull it back through. You are going to want to make sure that you get the right shape on these. So we're going to be taking off kind of the top corners on both sides. So now we need to take off this corner. So I'm just going to flip it around, and I'm going to sew from the outer corner towards the middle so that my seams both point together. Okay, now we will cut these apart, trim our triangles. Again, if you wanted to do a scrappy project with all these leftover triangles, absolutely you can. They're just a little bit small for me at this point. My scrap bins are overflowing. And I think I have 3 scrap quilts I'm working on right now. So I'm really trying to use them all up, just not getting it done. Okay, so we're going to take this over to the pressing station. We're going to press one out and one in. You're going to have 3 piece ends and 3 piece case. I'm sorry, 3 piece end and 6. So you need to decide which ones you want to put together. Probably doesn't matter very much, but I think that's a busier print. So we'll do 3. Okay, so we'll head back over to the machine and we'll sew these together. What we're going to do is alternate them so that we'll have that pattern times 3 and this pattern times 3. Now, these are probably not exactly as they are drawn in the pattern. So if you want to make yours exactly like the pattern, keep that in mind. Now we're going to press towards the middle one on all of these. You know what, guys? I just realized that this is a directional print and that's going to bug me. So I'm going to alternate these. Okay, so we're going to press towards our pink center. Okay, so now that those are all pressed, we're going to make our bottom section. Actually, we're going to start piecing this. So we'll grab one set. It's going to have, okay, so now we're going to make the rest of our bow. So we're going to grab the corresponding piece M for each one. And we're going to take the piece L's that are remaining. So I'm going to need, oops, not those. So the dot is with my arrows and my hearts. So we'll go stitch those on. So I do have a couple extras, but that's okay. Okay, actually on these, it doesn't matter. They're both going to get pressed to the outside. So we'll press those. Then we'll do these. And we'll go piece the other 2 corners on. Okay, so we'll do the easy one first because these hearts aren't directional. And you probably didn't have to do them 2 at a time, but they were close. Okay, so now I know I have to have them work this way. So I'll fold it in half so I can see what's actually going to show. That won't be right, but it would be right over here. So I'm going to use it over here. And go corner to corner. Because sometimes with these triangles, it's really hard to like spatially think of it, how it's going to end. Because you're going to flip it over and it's going to change on a diagonal. But there I know my arrows are pointing right, left, so we're good. So go ahead and stitch it on. Okay, so we'll set our seam and then we're going to press these to the outside. All right, now we're actually ready to build out our block. So we're going to do that. So all my arrows are right, left, which is exactly what I wanted. Arrows are right, left, and we're going to hold on to that for just a minute. Now when we press this one, we're going to press towards this big individual piece. So I'm just going to finger press that back and we'll stitch on our next piece. And now here we'll press towards the middle. And then here we'll press towards the middle and add our last piece. And then we have a cute little bow. And so much easier than I thought it was going to be. Okay, so we'll go set the seams on all of that. Okay. So now all we have to do is put together our little heart. So we'll attach all 3 of those. Pull that through, make sure we didn't cut off our heart. Looks good. Okay, so now we're ready to go press it. Super, super cute block. Okay, so we'll set our seam. And then we're going to press towards this bigger block. And we're going to press towards the top. Now we're just going to grab 2 pieces of Q. Okay, so now for these Q pieces, we're actually going to draw a line from corner to corner. These are pretty big pieces, so I actually am going to reserve these half square triangles. I am going to mark off my X for the one that I'm discarding. So again, I'm going to actually go corner to corner, not centering it at all, and then draw my other line a ½ inch away from that. So we'll go sew those 2 onto the bottom corners with my X towards the outside. Go ahead and stitch this other side on before I come back and do the second lines. Okay, so now we're going to press these to the outside. And we have our heart chocolate done. Isn't that so cute, you guys? I just think it's so fun. Okay, now I have everything up on the design wall. We're just going to add our piece W's between our staggered blocks of each row. Then we'll put it all together and we'll sew the row together. Okay, now our 3 rows are all sewn together. The next thing we're going to add is our piece sashings of X between the rows, and that will make all 3 into one solid top. Okay, now the next thing we're going to need to do is add our borders around the outsides. We're going to take 2 pieces of Y and add those to the outside, and then we'll add 2 pieces of Z to the top and to the bottom. And then we have our finished quilted top. All we're going to do now is add our border, and these are our 4½ inch squares. Those are going to go around the outside now, and we're going to make strips of 10. So I've got 10 on the right and left and top and bottom. So when we sew it all together, those will all line up. Okay, now we have our completed top. I think this was a really fast and fun project. The blocks were fun and different. Fat Quarter Shop did a great job kind of pushing everybody's comfort zone, and I really enjoyed sewing this one out.
Okay, that's a wrap on our flowers and chocolate quilt pattern. This was the 2025 Cupid box from Fat Quarter Shop, and it was a real fun one to sew out. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you do like this tutorial or any of my other unboxing videos, please do hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. And until then, guys, I will see you next time.